The night had deepened, and the air in the chamber seemed heavy with anticipation. King Shahryar leaned forward, eager for the next tale. Scheherazade, whose presence seemed to fill the room with an almost ethereal calm, spoke again, her voice steady and gentle.
O king, you have heard the tales of those who have wandered far, seeking redemption and wisdom. But now allow me to tell you the tale of the lost prince, a story of a royal heir who sought not power, but peace, and whose journey led him far from the life he had once known. I was the youngest son of a king, said the lost prince, and my life was filled with luxury and privilege. My father ruled a vast and prosperous kingdom, and I, being the youngest, was not burdened by the weight of succession. My brothers were to inherit the throne, while I lived in the shadow of their destiny, free to pursue my own interests. I was a dreamer. I loved the quiet beauty of the mountains and the peaceful flow of rivers. But my heart longed for something deeper, something beyond the walls of the palace. I would often wander the gardens and the countryside, seeking solace in the simplicity of nature, away from the court's endless intrigues and obligations. One day, I was walking in the royal gardens when I came upon an old man, bent with age, sitting by a fountain. His face was lined with time, but his eyes sparkled with a wisdom that seemed to transcend the years. I approached him, and he smiled kindly. "You are a prince," he said, "but you carry the weight of many lives on your shoulders. Do you not feel it?" I nodded, but I could not find the words to speak. The weight of my father's expectations, the duties of a future ruler, had always felt heavy upon me. I longed to be free, to live a life that was not defined by the throne or the politics of the court. The old man looked at me with great understanding. "Your path is not to be one of power, young prince," he said, "but of wisdom. Seek not the throne, but the peace of the heart. Go beyond the kingdom, beyond the palace, and find what you are truly meant to become." Those words struck me like a thunderbolt. That night, I stole away from the palace, leaving behind the life I had known. I traveled for many years, across deserts and mountains, through strange lands and unfamiliar faces. I learned the ways of the common people, and I came to understand their struggles, their joys, and their fears. But though I found peace in these journeys, there was always a longing in my heart, a feeling that something was missing. I wandered through countless towns and villages, offering what help I could, whether through medicine, advice, or simply my presence. But as time passed, I began to realize that I was no longer a prince in any true sense of the word. I was a traveler, a wanderer, lost to the world I had once known. And then, one evening, as I rested by the side of a river, I met an old woman, alone, sitting in the fading light. She looked at me with sharp eyes, and I felt as though she had seen through me, to the very core of my being. "You have lost something," she said, "but it is not something that can be returned. You seek peace, but you will find it only when you stop searching for it." Her words haunted me for days, and I began to wonder if I had made a terrible mistake by leaving my father's kingdom. Perhaps I had abandoned my destiny, running from the very thing that was meant to be my legacy. I wandered further, consumed by doubt. But then, in a small village, I found something I had not expected: a group of children, orphaned by a recent plague. They had no parents, no family, but they were not without hope. I took them in, and I cared for them as though they were my own brothers and sisters. In their laughter and their joy, I found a peace that had eluded me for so long. It was then that I realized the truth of the old woman's words. Peace is not something to be sought outside of oneself. It is something that must be cultivated within. I had spent so many years searching for something I already possessed, only I had not yet learned to recognize it. I returned to my kingdom, not as a prince, but as a man who had found what he had been seeking all along. I did not reclaim the throne, for that was never my destiny. Instead, I became a counselor to my brothers, offering wisdom born of my travels and my years of searching. And in that, I found peace at last. So ends the tale of the lost prince, a royal heir who sought not power, but the peace that comes from within. His journey teaches us that sometimes the things we seek most are not found in distant lands, but within our own hearts.
When Scheherazade heard the rooster crow, she decided to stop telling stories. Shahryar smiled and realized that Scheherazade would not tell any more. Of course, he had a new date the next night to continue enjoying the stories of his beautiful wife, Scheherazade. King Shahryar sat still, as if the weight of the tale had settled deeply within him. The room was quiet, save for the crackle of the fire, as the night stretched on.